Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for this session on safety, both on and off campus. My name is Jenny Schonsberg, and I'm with the UW-Madison Parent and Family Program. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. We always get great questions every fall at the start of the year due to increasing incidents on campus and questions about student safety. And we've gotten even more this year because, as many of you know, there have been a few incidents in the downtown area over the last month. We heard your feedback, and we are so grateful that UW-PD and the Madison Police Department were able to partner with us for this event. We ask that you submit your questions ahead of time, and so that's really what guided our script and our questions and what we're going to be going over today. So to all of you that took the time to submit those questions, thank you so much, and for sharing your comments and your concerns with us. I would like to thank our partners at the McBurney Disability Resource Center for providing captioning for today's event. You can find the link for captioning in the description underneath the video if you choose to use those services. Lastly, Parent and Family Program, we're here for you as a resource, and I'll return at the end of this forum just to close things out. But for now, I'm going to turn things over to our partners over at UW-Madison Police Department and our moderator, Mark Levicott, UW-PD Communication Director. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for that introduction. We're so happy to be here with you all. Again, I'm Mark Levicott. I'm the Director of Communications for the UW-Madison Police Department. That means I'm the guy responsible for news releases, social media posts, media interviews, and really anything else communications related at our police department. We've got two panelists with us today who will be answering your questions. And as Jenny said, we really appreciate all of the great questions that you submitted. If you didn't get a chance to ask a question, or if we didn't cover something today, inevitably we're probably going to run out of time, so we're not going to get to everything. But you can always get in touch with us via email, and that email address is police@uwpd.wisc.edu. We also have a ton of information on our website, including all of our contact information, general safety tips, things like that. And our website is right there on your screen, uwpd.wisc.edu. All right, let's get started. And we'll start by introducing our panelists. First up, we have UW-Madison Police Chief Kristen Roman. Good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. As was already noted, I am Kristen Roman, Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief of Police here at UW-Madison. I will I'll hit my 5-year mark in this capacity at the end of this semester, so in January. And prior to coming over here to the university, I spent just shy of 27 years serving the City of Madison Police Department, leaving there as a captain of community outreach. So I'm excited to be working with this team here and the ongoing partnership that we have with the City of Madison Police Department, and hope that we can provide you with some valuable information this afternoon.
All right, so thanks very much. Our second panelist is City of Madison Police Department Central District Captain, Lieutenant Ed Marshall. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Marshall.
Good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you're tuning into this from. My name is Ed Marshall. I've been with the City of Madison Police Department for going on a little over 17 years now. I came to the department from the East Coast, and ended up knowing about the City of Madison through my college days at Beloit College. I'm currently the patrol lieutenant, or the operations lieutenant, for the Central Police District, which is largely the isthmus and the intersection between campus and the city. Prior to this, I was the lieutenant of training and the academy director for the police department. And before that, I had various assignments throughout the department as a sergeant and an officer. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you both for being here. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you to all the parents who submitted questions in advance of our session, and we're just going to get right into them. Our first question is kind of an audible, as we didn't really expect to cover this issue today. But in recent weeks, UW-PD has seen a fairly significant uptick in the number of online scams, and those scams are targeting specifically our students and a lot of students in residence halls. Chief Roman, I just wanted to briefly toss this issue your way. We deal with scams all the time, unfortunately. Is there any advice you can offer to parents that they might be able to share with their students?
Absolutely, yes. We do sort of see these crop up at certain times of the year, and so it's always good for us to remind our students and our community, first of all, that they, these scams are out there, and provide them with some information about how they can avoid falling victim to these scams. So I think that the first most obvious piece of advice that we'd love your assistance in communicating with our students is that if it's too good to be true, like if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And so, I think that if our students or others are getting emails that are asking them to connect with somebody over the phone or in person, that they should be, of course, very leery of doing that. A police officer, some of these scams we've seen, the person is posing as a police officer or some agent of the government and is demanding payment immediately or else there'll be some dire consequence that, of course, evokes fear from the recipient. So please let our students know that a police officer or an agent will never demand money or some sort of payment online or over the phone. And then the last thing I think, that stands out is just under no circumstances should our students or anybody else really be sending money to a stranger who asks them to cash a check for them or some other scheme that focuses on the delivery of money in some capacity online or otherwise, or going to a bank. So we have a lot of information on our website that we'll be pointing to today on a number of different topics. I encourage all of you to really kind of take a bit of time and explore our website and nudge your students to do that as well. We do have a section on online scams that covers some of these pointers and some other information as well.
Yeah, great advice. And above all else, give us a call. We're here as a resource. So if students do have a question or if they're unsure about something, we're always here to talk them through things, and we can offer our thoughts on whether or not this is indeed a scam. But like Chief said, if it sounds too good to be true, it very much likely is. So thank you for that answer, Chief. On to our parent questions now. We're going to start with, first off, a general question, and this gets to quite a few of the questions that we've received in the last week or so. And that has to do with downtown safety in general. There has been some higher profile incidents occurring downtown in the last month or so. Some of the incidents have involved firearms. We do know that none of the incidents involved UW students. And for the most part, what we're understanding is, these weren't random attacks. They were targeted. So Lieutenant Marshall, I'd like to start with you. Can you give parents a general overview of some of the challenges your department has faced downtown and what kind of things you guys are doing to address some of these issues?
Sure. As many people know, the uptick in student activity and downtown activity occurs through the late summer into the early fall, where we're kind of getting into right now. Through several episodes through the summer, we've had some incidents in the State Street and Gilman Street corridor. Some of those, like you've already mentioned, have involved weapons. And from my understanding of the investigations, having gotten in there, having to be kind of read into them, as you said, Mark, these incidents do seem to be more targeted and not so much as random acts. That being said, we're very cognizant of that, and I think we're dealing with a couple things. Like I said, we're having the influx of populations coming back into Madison, and in addition, we're seeing the downtown entertainment zone coming out of the previous years, and the spring's kind of cloud of COVID. So we're seeing people come back into the bars, into the entertainment zone, having venues, hosting events now. So that's bringing more and more people together. From a Central District perspective, we always have units on our regular patrols throughout the week. We have several officers working the overnights, 4 on a true overnight shift, and then another 4 who work an evening into the early morning hours shift, kind of a 4th shift and 5th shift, or a power shift, if you will. And those officers are always on the clock. Those beats are always filled. On more of our entertainment district type nights, Fridays and Saturdays, and the occasional Thursdays, we staff additional officers from throughout the department who volunteer to come in on especially funded initiative called Downtown Safety Initiative. We use those officers to provide extra patrol and resources in the State Street corridor. Typically, we're seeing those officers being resourced between the 400 blocks of State Street, Peace Park, down towards the 600 block, and then on to obviously Library Mall and beyond that to the campus. as well as the Gorham Street corridor as it merges with 600 block of University, and then the streets that kind of interconnect in there. So that's where we place our resources, because that's where we're seeing the large numbers of people, and obviously the cost of service that we talked about that occurred over the summer and we're going into the fall now. Those numbers are strictly on a voluntary basis during those entertainment weekends, our Fridays and Saturday nights. So on some weekends, depending on interest, we may have more officers than others. We try to deploy them as smartly as possible to make sure that they're where as the best intelligence information we have, where the people are, where the hotspots are, where the incidents have occurred in the past. So you're going to see a lot of extra patrol, extra presence on the part of officers on foot, in vehicle, and on horseback through those areas on the weekend nights.
Extra patrols and extra presence. We've heard that a lot from parents. I assume they're reassured to hear that. Chief, I wanted to toss this over to you as well, because I know we're doing on campus and on the fringes of campus, we're doing some high visibility patrols as well.
Yes, yes, we are. This is an area that I've really focused a lot of attention on during my time here. Again, sort of having the experience of coming from the Central District, where Lieutenant Marshall currently is. When I was at the City of Madison, I do understand sort of that gray area that is that downtown, Lower State Street, Langdon Street, University, where some of our res halls are, that gray area where city and campus meet is something that we've worked hard over the last few years to do a better job, I think, of being consistent in our approach, whether we're serving our students on campus or off campus. So some of the things that we're doing right now in direct response to some of this increased activity that we've all been concerned about in the downtown area. As always, in the last couple of years, we dedicated a community officer to exclusively serve that off-campus student population in those areas that I just talked about. So we call this officer our downtown liaison officer. It's one of our 5 community officers here at the UW-PD. And so this officer has been working closely with the students in these areas, a lot of contact with those students, and of course working with the City of Madison Police Department too, to provide some additional visibility, connection, information whenever possible. So that's one thing that we have in place. And during the pandemic, of course, this officer was not able to be active, but now that we're all back here on campus, he's been really plugged in leading into this fall semester and talking with our students about these issues and offering them, safety advice as well. We also have our off-campus alerts that I think we'll be talking about a little bit later, because that's something we get a lot of questions about quite often. But that too is a bolstered effort that we've put in place over the last few years, specifically to keep our off-campus community informed when concerning issues emerge. So we'll talk a little bit more about those alerts later, but the increased visibility is something that we do primarily on campus in the fall. But this year, of course, we are expanding that into some of these areas, as I said, where campus and city come together. So just as Lieutenant Marshall described, primarily in these peak nights during the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sort of weekend increased activity in the downtown area. That's when we'll be dedicating our resources as well, partnering with the city officers when we can to create that sort of partnership, that visible partnership, but certainly always available and willing to support them as specific issues arise as well. So some of it's proactive and some of it, of course, is unfortunately reactive, but we're always communicating with MPD, with our student affairs staff here on campus to kind of keep them in the loop, and other partners both on and off campus.
Great, thanks, Chief. Our next question is about bikes and bike theft issues. We actually got a couple questions about this particular topic. In particular, one parent said, we've been advised not to buy a bicycle for our son as cycle thefts are rampant. Can you please advise how students can protect against thefts? This is an issue that we deal with pretty much every year when students come back, and then once again in the spring semester when the weather gets a little bit nicer. Obviously, more and more people use their bikes. Chief Roman, do you want to take this one and talk a little bit about bike thefts and what we do with this issue?
You bet. Yeah, I'll provide just a little bit of some numbers just to kind of help our listeners understand the scope of what bike thefts in particular look like on campus. Now, a reminder: this is on campus or campus property, so that includes our res halls that are kind of nestled in the downtown area as well. And so, if we're looking at bike thefts, really over the last 4 years or so, we had about 50 bike thefts in 2018. That went down to about 37 in 19. During 2020, we had 52 bikes stolen from our campus properties. And then in 2021 so far, we've had about 28. So the average over these last 4 years is about 42 bikes. So we do spend a lot of time when we're engaging with students in the res halls and elsewhere. We do some prevention, education around this. And I think the biggest preventive measure is for those who have bikes to really invest in a top-notch bike lock. The better the lock, obviously the more secure the bike will be. So some of these cable locks and the less expensive ones can be easily defeated. So that's probably the number one piece of advice we give folks who have bikes on campus, is to invest in a really high quality lock. We also encourage folks to register their bikes. This, of course, helps us track bikes down in the aftermath if it is stolen. And believe it or not, we actually do recover a fair number of stolen bikes. We have a proactive effort that we call our bait bike program. And this is a program that we'll be sort of implementing and putting back in place as we move into the fall here. And we talk to students about this as well. And one of the things that we encourage students to do is we have stickers that they can put on their bikes that actually mark it as a potential bait bike, which can be a deterrent for potentially somebody who's looking to kind of lift that bike if they know that this is potentially set there as bait for them to do just that, and then we'll track them down. So again, I think the lock is the number one thing, and of course we do some of this proactive work to try to mitigate the potential for bikes to be stolen on campus.
Yeah, when I see some of our daily reports, I would guess 8 or 9 out of 10 involve a cable lock, and it's so easy to cut those cable locks. So we really try to push those U locks, those really heavy duty, a little bit more expensive, but worth the investment if you're going to protect your property. So thank you for that answer, Chief. Our next question has to do with jurisdictions, which admittedly can be a tad confusing. We're kind of our own little city here on campus, right next to another city, right next to a town, and then there's another town. So we're kind of this pocket right in the middle. Chief Roman, could you start us off by explaining the jurisdiction of the UW-Madison Police Department? And we've got a visual we'll show as well. But our boundaries do tend to blend with the city and our other neighbors pretty well.
Absolutely. I mean, as you'll see when the map is shown, we are surrounded pretty much by water on the one side and the City of Madison all around us on the other. Toward the west end, we've got Shorewood that also is an adjoining jurisdiction. We also have some pockets of Capitol Police Department jurisdiction scattered on campus down by Library Mall in particular. But in essence, this red area that you see on the map is our primary jurisdiction. Now, UW-PD has primary jurisdiction for all public safety issues that arise within that area. So that's crimes, that's proactive initiatives. It's the hospital is included in that area as well. And so in all those areas shaded in red, we are the primary responder and will be dispatched to take any calls for service within that area. Now, as you see, on the end towards State Street there, this is the area that we've been talking about where the city and the campus come together. And we have, while you can see those bold red lines there, we really have blurred those lines to a degree, recognizing that our students and our campus community, it does not stay in the red area, right? They live oftentimes off campus. They seek entertainment and recreation in those areas in the city. So we're very tuned into that, which is why our partnership with the City of Madison Police Department is so key. We share information regularly, and we do have some police authorities and enforcement abilities, of course, as a state law enforcement agency. We can take action off campus, and we do, but obviously, out of deference to the lead agency, the City of Madison Police Department, who will take lead on all crimes occurring in the City of Madison. We rely heavily on one another, I think, in those areas that we've talked about, where we can see some of that overlap and some of the spillover onto campus. And of course, we know our students are also spilling out into the city and sometimes engaged in some activities and behaviors there that the City of Madison Police Department is most often addressing.
Thanks, Chief. Lieutenant Marshall, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about this issue as well, if you'd like, and the various partnerships. And not only us, but you have many other law enforcement partners you work with, because Madison borders lots of communities as well.
Yeah, so I can't say anything more about the relationship and the boundary and the jurisdictional sharing that we have between us and the UW campus any better than the good chief already has. Suffice to say, we have a very good working relationship with UW-PD and the campus leadership in general, which is, I think, excellent. And we see a lot of that interchange and crossover, obviously, at the street level when our officers are working with UW officers side by side, patch to patch, dealing with issues in the main corridors in and out and around the campus. In addition, our community policing team for the Central District, every district has one. That's a team of 3 officers and 1 sergeant, work very closely with the outreach officers assigned to UW-PD as well to deal with hotspots and growing or ongoing issues along these different corridors as well. The chief had already mentioned Langdon Street, which, for those of you who are chiming in or not aware, is something of a fraternity and sorority row, and quite a bit of student housing through that area. So we work with different addresses there. We work in cohort with UW-PD as well as the chancellor's office. We also deal with other jurisdictional issues throughout the Central District, obviously throughout the city, where we also run into a jurisdictional boundary at the state capitol, which is the province of the state capitol police department, as well as other jurisdictions in the area such as Shorewood Hills, which the chief mentioned on the west side of the campus, on our near north side, and kind of the northeast boundary of our district here. We have a village of Maple Bluff, which is bordered on 3 sides by the city and on 1 by water. And then we have obviously state, county units moving through the area on various initiatives, various duties that they have as well. So a close working relationship and a shared quarters of communication are very important. Even this morning, I was in contact with an alder as well as my community policing team and a UW officer regarding issues regarding trespassing and potentially stolen bikes in the city's jurisdiction downtown. And we wanted to share that information and what suspect information we had so that we can make informed decisions on the street and be on the lookout for individuals who might be involved in trespassing, package or food thefts, and stolen bicycles. So communication is very key for all of us.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lieutenant. I'm going to stick with you for this next question. We've had a few questions submitted that specifically talk about off-campus safety, and these parents have specifically mentioned Mifflin, Langdon, State Street. These are areas that we've all talked about already. So, Lieutenant, I'm wondering if you could just talk a bit about those areas in particular, some of the things that you guys have seen, and any advice you have for parents to discuss with their students about safety in general.
Absolutely. So I'll start with Mifflin Street. Mifflin Street has a very storied history with the City of Madison, as anyone who's lived here for a while can attest. Obviously, Chief Roman can. Mifflin Street has a very high concentration. West Mifflin Street, specifically west of the Capitol, has a very high concentration of student housing. And within that student housing, as private housing, those are apartment buildings. Those are multi-unit, second, 2 and 3-story houses. So the issues that we see there, obviously, we have student-based activities there, such as, we have parties, we have the Mifflin Street Block Party, and under new names, obviously, and we see obviously crime and criminal activity happening in that area. A lot of that crime, from my vantage point here, is largely opportunity-based. We have a large population of individuals who are leaving vehicles unlocked, valuables in the open. We already talked about bicycles. The chief put that very well. Bicycles unsecured, my advice, obviously, please register your bicycle. I think those stickers are a great idea. A good solid lock takes a lot of time to get through, and is a very strong deterrent, especially if you can lock up the two wheels together. Or if at all possible, if you own that space or you have custody of that space, take that bike inside, take it out of view, make that less of an enticement for an individual walking through, or an enticement for someone to enter or remain on the property. Speaking of people coming in and leaving properties, we see an issue often with students living off campus with burglaries or robberies occurring at addresses where we've had student events before, and we have unknown individuals coming and remaining in. Please, if you want to have an educational moment with your students coming back to school, especially those who are living off campus, possibly for the first time, please encourage them to be cautious and guarded regarding ownership of their property. Who's coming into the apartment, who's coming into the building. If they don't know someone who's hanging out in the building or in the lobby or in the vestibule, or someone who they don't know who showed up at their party, please say something. Please confront them if they're comfortable doing that. If not, please talk to a property manager, call police. We'll send the closest units we can. And that way we prevent things from happening beforehand. Those individuals who might be coming in who you don't know might have been lured in there thinking there was an open party, an open event for people to come in, and once they're told they're trespassing, not invited to a private event, they may leave. If not leave, they don't leave. Obviously, that's a problem, and we're definitely here to assist and make that happen. In addition, we don't want those individuals to get an idea that this place is open or get an idea of what property valuables or victim profile we have in those spaces that they may occupy. So please remind students to lock up and hide valuables, lock doors, challenge unknown people who might be on their property, not residents, not guests of residents, not friends, or let us know or let an agent of the property know. Moving farther north, we're going to talk about Langdon a little bit. Like I'd mentioned before, Langdon has a lot of student housing off campus, there might be some that's actually associated or affiliated with the campus itself, but a lot of that is set aside for fraternity and sorority housing. In the Langdon Street corridor, we do have a lot of parties that are put on by different student organizations. Some do better jobs than others in terms of keeping ownership of those parties and only allowing certain people in, students or guests, if you will, and then shutting other individuals out who aren't supposed to be there. We encourage anyone who's doing that to do the same if they're in that corridor, especially this time of the year when people are new, they're not familiar with the comings and goings. If you see unfamiliar faces in the hallway, introduce yourself. Wonder where, ask where they're going. If they think that if they're looking like they're part of the building maintenance, please ask what they're doing there. Ask if they belong there, if they need help. And if you're seeing someone who doesn't belong, they look like they're walking through areas that staff shouldn't be walking through, or they're looking like they're lost inside your building, please call. Please let us know. That way we can get there and prevent things from happening. We can solve crimes. We can prevent crimes, even more importantly. Same thing that we see in the Mifflin corridor. We see Langdon Street. For those of you who just moved students into that area, you know that parking can be a bit horrendous. It's definitely a maze in some of the areas on the north end of Langdon Street to get through some of those alleys and parking lots. And again, those areas, we try to work with city streets and traffic engineering to get better lighting in there. But working with the property owners to get lighting is another matter. We'd like to work with some of them to improve the safety situation through environmental design, a concept called CEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. So if we see avenues for those, if you can take them up, they're great. If you see an opportunity for us to be involved, please let us know. And then we go to State Street. State Street, as many people here know, is largely the epicenter for entertainment for the City of Madison, and even I dare say Greater Dane County. It's about 3,000 feet in length, and it runs directly from the State Capitol building to Library Mall and the University campus beyond. So in many ways, from both a physical setting and a metaphorical setting or a larger sense, it's kind of the center of government, student life, entertainment, culture for the larger area. It is a downtown entertainment zone. It's a district that has some student housing, obviously. It has people living off campus, associated with the university, not associated with the university, but at the same time, we have a lot of people who are drawn to that area because of the activities there. There's music, there's a lot of nightlife, there's goings on, cultural events, there's a place to meet. And I'll mention nightlife a second time because that's the largest draw there. hence why we have a lot of officers working that area in the evening hours and into the early morning hours on Friday nights and Saturday nights. So I think we've said a lot about that already. We also have a large influx of individuals from outside of campus coming to that area from different parts of the city who also want to take part in the activities going on there. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing illegal about that. But we have this large mix, this large congregation of individuals from all walks of life, all interests in the downtown area getting together. And when there are more people, more crowds, there is opportunity for conflict, especially in the rare event that alcohol is involved. And in addition, that there's an opportunity for crime because of that conflict, as well as the opportunity for individuals to have some anonymity within the crowd, and the opportunity for individuals to observe potential victims or potential properties.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Chief Roman, I think this amplifies the importance of the downtown liaison officer position that you were just talking about. Diego Lima Hernandez is our officer, for those who don't know. And, he really comes into play here when some of these downtown issues happen that impact our students. And he's really a great resource for our students as well.
He really is. And, one of the things, aside from just being a presence and, seizing those opportunities to be visible and proactive and engaging with students in those neighborhoods, what I think is an added value is he really is that link back to campus resources as well. So oftentimes I think when students who are living off campus find themselves in a situation, for instance, where perhaps they are a victim of a burglary or a theft, and the City of Madison is responding to investigate and to kind of do what they do, there are resources that campus has available to support those students and those as victims, whether it be a loaner laptop, for instance, if that was stolen out of their apartment in the City of Madison. And so I would encourage you all to encourage your students that even when they're working with the City of Madison Police Department as the lead agency, that they still work to tap into the resources that our community officer, Diego, provides. Reach out to him or reach out to any UW PD officer or give us a call because we too, like I said, have a host of resources through student affairs and University Health Services and others that really are about keeping our students safe and well. And so we'd love to plug those resources in as much as we can, again, even when our students are living off campus. So that community officer role is key from that resource standpoint, to be sure.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Our next question has to do with nighttime safety. In particular, a parent asks, my daughter will start a part-time job on campus, and the hours are Sunday and Monday, when she's scheduled to be off work at 12:15 a.m. She has a 5 to 8 minute walk back to her dorm room after midnight. This parent asks, is this safe? And what can she do to ensure she returns safely back to the dorm room? So we've had a couple questions submitted that are similar to this. Chief, I'll toss this one over to you.
Yes. Well, again, in some of the proactive education that we do in the res halls and also with our students, whenever we have the opportunity, is to provide them with a lot of these safety tips. And one of those tips is, if you can avoid it, to not walk, alone in hours of darkness. Now, we understand that can't always happen. And so this is, again, where it's important for students to understand what are some of the things that we would recommend they do if they find themselves in a situation where they are unable to be a part of a group moving through campus or into the city and back on campus. So we have some resources, a safe walk program, which is actually a group of volunteer students who are trained and who operate during those peak hours and provide that escort. It's a walk, it's not a ride. And so that is a resource that our students can tap into. And I think the number is going to be provided to you there. So that's one resource. Of course, there's public transportation. The City of Madison Metro bus system operates and is a quick and mostly inexpensive way for students to get about the downtown area. Those obviously have some limited hours of operation, so depending on what time of night somebody's needing to get from point A to point B, that may or may not be an option. But we also, some of the tips that we advise our students who are finding themselves perhaps walking alone from point A to point B in hours of darkness, for whatever reason, they're not availing themselves of the safe walk option or public transportation, and they're walking. Some of the things we tell our students is to not walk with headphones on, to be aware of their surroundings. So that people who are walking up behind them or coming towards them they're going to be able to hear them. So, to not look down at their phone constantly while they're walking. Again, it's about having an awareness about what's around you, and some common sense about those kinds of things. We also have an app called Whisk Guardian that can be downloaded on either platform that our students have on their smartphones. And this app is sort of a safety app that allows individuals to program in their routes or a destination, to list a contact person in that app, so that that person would be notified if they were delayed in getting from their designated they're from point A to point B. So they can program into that app what their route's going to be, how long they're estimated to take to walk home, and then if they don't show up at home during that time frame that was established, this contact person gets notified, or they can set that up to go directly to dispatch as well. So these are some of the tools that we have available for your student. In this case, this parent who's concerned about their student walking home alone during night after work.
And I've got the app actually open right here. It really is a really nice resource. And in addition to the safety timers that Chief Roman was talking about, we've got a directory. There's a way for students to one-click text our dispatch center if they have a tip or something they want to talk about where they can't actually speak to somebody. Resources. It's a really nice app. Just tell your student to go to their favorite app store and search for Rave Guardian, Rave R-A-V-E Guardian, and make sure they sign up using their wisc.edu email address. That way they'll be connected to our Whisk Guardian app, and like I said, really great resource. One other thing I did want to touch on as well. Chief Roman talked about public transportation and bus. Students do get free bus passes, so that's a great resource if students just don't feel comfortable walking by themselves, especially in the evening hours. That option is really a great one. Excuse me. We've seen a couple of questions come in about Madison's homeless population, particularly in areas just off campus where students frequent. Lieutenant Marshall, I was wondering if you could address this and talk about some of the challenges here and offer some advice to students who might frequent some of these areas.
Sure thing. Madison does have a homeless population. It's had a homeless population for many, many years, and it's something that the department at large and the Central District specifically have had a lot of experience in working with. Many of our homeless individuals have congregated in some of these areas that have a high foot traffic area, State Street, and kind of the nearby areas. They're known to us. They're actually often known to the students. Some of the students will know them, some of our residents by first name as well. What I strongly recommend is, again, avoid dimly lit areas, or try to walk in groups if you don't feel comfortable or safe walking or negotiating a certain corridor or area. At the same time, please let us know if you encounter aggressive panhandling or individuals who are causing a problem for you or disturbance. And that can be anything from blocking your route, physical contact with you while trying to get your attention, any sort of epithets, anything that's creating a large disturbance, any acts of violence that you see or witness, and heaven forbid happen to you. Please let us know. We have officers in that area. I've got 2 officers, a Central District Neighborhood Resource Officer, as well as a State Street Neighborhood Officer, who work very closely with our homeless population, as well as with the outreach organizations that are set up in Madison and Greater Dane County to assist them. There are several of those organizations. We have a very good working relationship with them to make contact with our homeless individuals to provide them resources, to get them into areas where they can get resources without resorting to panhandling, without ending up in any other trouble or issues, or any other conflict with other populations that they come in contact with. And again, this is one of those moments or teachable moments for parents is, again, that situational awareness that the chief mentioned, having your child or your young student, I should say, maintain that awareness, not looking at their phone incessantly, looking at their surroundings, taking note of individuals who are in their proximity, following them, staying in well-lit areas, walking in groups. Like we mentioned, safe rides, safe walks, the bus system, ride-sharing apps, if you're comfortable using those as well, calling friends, letting them know you're on their way, or letting them know you've arrived in locations. And again, like I've mentioned before, taking ownership of those spaces that you rent or lease or are assigned to in terms of your housing. If you see individuals there who are congregating, who appear to be non-residents, please let us know, or if you're on campus, obviously the university police know, so we can identify those individuals, deal with the issue at hand as appropriate, enforcement, warning, moving them along, and getting to know who they are, and enforcing that expectation that that area is not for them to remain in, and that it's a safety issue. It's obviously a clear safety hazard.
Okay, thanks, Lieutenant. Our next question has to do with alerts and emergency notifications. This parent asks, will there be or can there be an alert system that any student can sign up to get so they're aware of any incidents around campus areas and surrounding neighborhoods? This could be for on or off campus. We do have a fairly robust alert system in place, and Chief Roman, I'll let you take this one.
Sure. So, I'll try to be as brief as I can, but there's information, again, on our website about these different alerts that we send out to our campus community. So if you're taking notes or you don't want to take notes, you can always consult our website. But I'm going to talk about 3 types of alerts that we issue. And these are alerts that UW-PD is responsible for assessing and pushing out to our community. So the first, you may have heard us refer to this, is called our WISC alert. So a WISC alert is a notification that goes out, like we blanket all possible forums with this. So we send these notifications out via text message, via email, and on our social media. Usually that's going to be Twitter. And we send these out to notify members of our Badger community of an emergent safety issue that's actively occurring. So these are situations that are happening right now in the moment. And the notifications are very brief, alerting our community members to the nature of the concern, the location of the concern, and any other information, maybe such as a suspect descriptors, if we have that information at the time. And then any other information that we're able to push out to give folks instructions on how to make themselves safe. So an example of this kind of alert might be a report of a person with a weapon on campus, and the alert would notify the community of where this person is, potentially a description, again, if we have that information, and then give sort of an advisement to stay clear of this particular area. Once we send out this emergency notification, these WISC alerts, we do provide follow-up alerts to keep folks updated as the situation and the threat is continuing. And then when it's all clear, we will also send out an alert that tells our community that the situation has been resolved and that the area is once again safe. So that's our WISC alert. The other kind of notification that we do is a crime warning. So these are notifications that are sent via email. They're not going to come through text or social media. And these are for situations where there isn't any actively occurring immediate sort of threat or safety concern. So crime warnings are really intended just to notify members of our community of some sort of ongoing safety concern that hasn't yet been resolved and that we really want our community to be aware of. So an example of this would be a series of burglaries, let's say, occurring in which we've not yet identified or located any specific suspects. So these crime warnings will give our students and others in our Badger community relevant information about these crimes, and also offer some safety tips and actions that individuals can take to to make themselves safe. So the last type of emergency notification is one that we've implemented over the last few years now. Mark, I've lost track. I think maybe 2 to 3 years ago we put this in place. And this is our off-campus emergency alert. So these are very similar to our WISC alerts, as they are intended to notify our community about an actively occurring potential threat to safety. But these are for those situations that are occurring off campus in the areas that we've talked about already within the City of Madison that are, just adjacent to campus. Now, because these incidents, as we've talked about around jurisdiction, are being fielded primarily by the Madison Police Department, there is a delay in our ability oftentimes to gather quality information, and the quality of the information that we're able to send out in these off-campus alerts really is dependent on the information that we're able to receive from the city in a timely manner. So we have processes in place to make that as streamlined and as timely as possible, but just shaping expectations that because those alerts are sort of an add-on to our primary responsibility to alert our community, we are working with the city in order to get that information accurately pushed out to our community. So like our WISC alerts, these are notifications that will be sent by text message, email, Twitter. But the difference between our off-campus alerts and our WISC alerts is that WISC alerts are received automatically. All students with the who've registered are going to have the information pushed into the system and will automatically receive these. But the off-campus alerts are alerts that they have to opt into or sign up in order to receive them. Information is also on our website, and I think maybe Mark will share some of that with this group as well on where you can go or direct your students to go to sign up for those off-campus alerts as well.
Yep, thank you, Chief. And yeah, the address that was on your screen earlier has a ton of great information about our alert system, not just the WISC alerts, but the off-campus alerts. It talks a little bit about the crime warnings as well, and there's the address right there. There is a link within that address that takes students to their My UW portal, which is where they can opt in to receive those off-campus alerts. Within that My UW portal, within the WISC alerts section, folks can also add a secondary phone number. So if you're one of those parents that really wants to know what's going on at all times, you can ask your student to add your cell phone number to the secondary number, and you'll also receive those alerts. Another real simple way, just for WISC alerts, we do offer parents in the community the option to sign up for WISC alerts on their own, and all you have to do is text UW alert to 77295. Don't worry if you're not taking notes, it's all on that website, so head there if you want more information. But it's a really easy way for you to opt in to receive those WISC alerts if you're interested in receiving them. So I'm just looking at, Chief, you have one more thing to add?
Again, I wanted to clarify, because we do get questions oftentimes, following an incident, why wasn't an alert sent, or I didn't receive an alert, and why is that? I heard about it on the news, or I read about it in the newspaper. And keep in mind that as far as utilizing that emergency notification system, it really is for something that's actively occurring, not something that has already been resolved or quickly resolved for that matter. So we do have situations, a few of which we've talked about here this morning, that have happened in the City of Madison. And as we respond in, or the City of Madison responds in, they're quickly identifying individuals involved, or it's quickly ascertained that the threat has left the area. And so the turnaround time and the need to notify on an emergency sort of notification has passed. And so sometimes there's confusion about that, because it will come to light later that this issue occurred, And we'll get those questions. Well, why didn't we get a notification about that? And that's generally the reason why, is because the situation unfolded very quickly and was very quickly, sort of rendered safe and such that it wouldn't have, qualified for us to be sending those notifications. So those kinds of information will come out either in press releases or through email notifications or questions that we just receive, and we might post something on our website to give our community some information about that, or the City of Madison might put out some information to the public as well.
Great point. Thank you for that, Chief. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have about 9 minutes left. Before we wrap things up, I've got one more question that I wanted to throw your way, Chief. And we got a couple of questions about our blue light phones and our e-phones on campus. And I think we've got like over 160 of them in various parts of campus. But we had a couple parents ask about why there aren't more and more strategically located. And they are strategically located, but this is an issue that we've talked about in depth over the last few years, because we had some students come to us asking about increasing the number of emergency phones. Chief, do you want to talk a little bit about that and the conversations we've had with these students?
Absolutely. Yes, we do have, like most campuses, I think that these are systems that went in place before the age of smartphones, to be honest. And so it was obviously designed to provide quick access to emergency response. And so those are maintained. We have those throughout campus, and I too, Mark, have lost track of the total number, but about 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, we were engaged in conversations with our student advisory group, and this was an issue that came up. And so we undertook a very thorough sort of assessment and analysis of that program, of the blue light program. And so out of that, what we were really able to take a look at the data and the utilization of those, and we're very clearly, understood that the utilization, aside from, to be honest, it was used a lot for prank phone calls more than anything else. And I think maybe we had one legitimate sort of call for assistance from one of those phones, and it was actually from a non-UW affiliated person on campus. So while that is true, expanding that program did not seem to be the most effective way to keep our students safe. And so we maintain the phones, those blue light phones that we have throughout campus. We check them regularly to make sure that they're working. And so those will remain in place. But we mostly point our students to the fact that the majority of our students do have sort of their own blue light that they carry with them, known as their cell phone. And that's usually going to be a much quicker way for them to get the help that they need. And we have the ability to be able to tap into potentially locations of those students as well, using the GPS technology too. So we looked at it and decided, that we'll maintain, but not expand the existing program. But it is just one, I guess, stopgap, but one that's rarely used.
Yeah, I just looked it up, Chief. We have 140 emergency phones, or blue light phones, as some people call them, all across campus. And back when we were working on this project a few years ago, we actually polled other Big Ten universities and asked what they were doing. And a lot of universities were actually completely scrapping their emergency program. And obviously, we did not want to go that far. We still feel, as Chief mentioned, that this is an important tool in the variety of things that people have to keep safe. But again, as Chief mentioned, it just didn't seem right to pour a lot more money into something when everyone kind of carries a blue phone right there with them. So thank you for that answer, Chief. We're just about out of time. We've got just a couple minutes left. I wanted to give each of our panelists one last opportunity to share any final thoughts. Chief Roman, I'm going to kick it over to you to start us off with a closing.
You bet. Well, first of all, again, I just want to thank everybody who's tuned in today. I am a parent of a junior now here at the UW, because what student would really go to pick a school where their mother is the chief of police, right? My son is over in the Milwaukee area, but I understand what the concerns are, certainly as a parent myself of a college-age student. So please know that this department is very committed to your students' well-being, and safety is our lead in cultivating that well-being. And so if you have questions at any time, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. You know, we work with our partners, of course, in student affairs, in housing, in UHS and other student support services across campus, regularly partnering with them on various initiatives. And so I'm looking forward to having all the students back. It's been way too quiet around here without them, and so again, thank you, and don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or to Mark. Fields also a lot of questions as well. We certainly want to make sure that you have the information that you need and that your students feel safe here and throughout their education here.
Thanks, Chief. And Lieutenant Marshall, any final thoughts from you?
Thanks for having me. And again, I hope that folks have learned something from this. And I'm also looking forward to a great fall semester. My kids are not in school here. They're in school they're in elementary school. That said, as a parent, I echo the same concerns that all the parents logging in here are expressing or have in their hearts and homes right now. Please bear in mind that we hold our student safety and all of our resident safety in the highest regard and the highest priority. And again, you can contact us through our websites as well. And we like to respond, be able to provide information. And we're always looking for opportunities to partner with organizations and groups that want to work with us to continue to maintain and enhance the safety of everyone who visits the city, especially the downtown area.
Great. Thank you, Lieutenant. And again, thank you, Chief Roman, and thank you all for your interest in this topic and for submitting your questions. Like I said at the beginning, if we didn't cover something today, inevitably we didn't, and we ran out of time. But if there was something that you really wanted us to talk about, please reach out. You can always get in touch with us via email. That's our email address, police@uwpd.wisc.edu. If you're just looking for some general resources, our website is a great place to start. We've got lots of great information on there that you can share with your student. With that, Jenny, I'm going to turn things back over to you, and thank you for your wonderful partnership with the Parent and Family Program, and thank you for helping us host this today.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chief Roman and Lieutenant Marshall, for your time and your insight, your expertise. I know that this is really going to resonate with our parents, and they appreciate you taking the time to discuss these really important and sometimes hard to talk about topics. So really, thank you so much. For everybody watching at home, if you caught just a piece of this or you weren't able to join us live, the session will be recorded and available at the links that you used to get here. You can watch them at any time, like I said. And again, the Parent and Family Program is here for you. We're your go-to resource. We're happy to answer any questions you may have, either about our conversation today or any topic that helps you support your student. You can visit our website there that's on your screen, parent.wisc.edu. And again, thank you for joining us today, and take care.